Today, I'm going to talk about the traits you need to attract a healthy person. If you're like me and you've experienced complex trauma, you've probably had relationships where you haven't been fully loved, respected, or even able to feel safe. Actually, the clearest way to know if you've experienced complex trauma is to look back on your relationship history. And if you've had a series of dysfunctional relationships where your needs went completely unmet, where you were the one who kept giving and giving and didn't get much in return, or if you've experienced abuse in any way, you've probably experienced complex trauma. I think all of us go into relationships wanting to meet someone who shows up for us and who treats us well. We have the intention of meeting this person, but ultimately our trust is betrayed in some way by them. We might feel like they weren't who they said they were. We might find out that they're highly irresponsible in some way, or even that they have a secret addiction or an issue that they've kept hidden from us. One thing that people with complex trauma struggle with is asking themselves, why couldn't I see this? You might have even asked yourself that, where you're looking back at your relationships and the red flags just seem so clear. But at the time, you didn't notice them at all. Or maybe you did notice them, but you felt like, I can fix this person or I can make it work. This is often the end result of someone who's experienced complex trauma. You've been working your whole life. Ever since you were a child, you've been working to be loved, to stop your parents from fighting, to help your parents financially, or maybe you were fighting to get their attention or their approval. So it makes sense that when you meet someone and you see the gaps or the issues that they have, instead of saying, you know what, this isn't something that I want to take on, or even that I should take on for another adult, you go right into the role of playing fixer or of trying to get them to reach their potential in some way. Now, it's important to understand that emotionally healthy people aren't looking for a project in another person. They're looking for someone who's a responsible, autonomous adult that adds to their life. They're looking for someone that they can build with, that they can collaborate with. They are ready to enrich another person's life and ready to allow that person to enrich their own lives. When they're dating someone who starts to show the signs that they're just not capable of doing those things, they'll ultimately leave that relationship. Someone with complex trauma, however, really struggles to leave dysfunctional relationships because they have so many issues with abandonment. The end of a relationship is just so triggering and so overwhelming that they would rather stay with a person who doesn't fulfill their needs than to face those feelings of loss and rejection that they are so used to from their own childhood. I remember early on in my career as a psychologist, someone said to me in a session, my picker is off. You might have heard that phrase, maybe even said that phrase yourself. What this means is that you pick people who ultimately just aren't good for you. Now, while it's an oversimplification, what it is saying is that the person grew up with some trauma that left them with some self-worth issues, some insecurities, or some issues with discretion in picking a healthy partner. What we really want to do to fix our picker, or to create a situation where we step back from relationships and do some self-reflection, the next time that we're in a relationship, we can see things more clearly, and then we can choose a partner more consciously and more intentionally. And sometimes there is this belief that if we just need to search harder for the right person, but the truth is, when we work on ourselves and when we start to create healthier habits and behaviors within ourselves, we'll actually naturally attract the people who have those same traits. Because one thing is always true. Emotionally healthy people are looking for emotionally healthy people. So now, I'm going to go through the different traits that will help us attract healthier people into our lives. The first trait is we want to have clear values. Healthy people are attracted to people who have clear values. And here's the important part, who live those values. Now, everyone is going to have different values. You might be looking for a partner who really wants to have children and raise a family. Or you might be looking for a partner that values freedom and financial independence. Whatever your value is, you need to become aware of it. And you need to start living those values. So a healthy person who's looking for a partner to have children with is going to want to look for signs that the person is capable of taking care of a family, both physically and emotionally. And if they meet someone who's struggling to take care of themselves, they're going to know that that person just isn't a match. The first thing you might want to do is begin to think about and write out your values. And again, these are the things that are most important to you. And then you want to start practicing living those values. So for example, if you're looking for someone who's financially independent, you're going to want to start to learn about budgeting, about finances, and you're going to want to start to put those practices in place for yourself first. The second trait to help you attract emotionally healthy individuals is you're going to want to take care of yourself. Now, this is good not only for attracting the right person, but also for yourself. You're going to look at the food you're eating, your sleep schedule, how much you're drinking, and how much you're dedicating to things that make you better, healthier, happier. So many of us, we go through a breakup and we go right back out into dating. So you might want to pause and take some time to focus on taking care of you. And in this process, you will naturally meet other people who are doing the same thing. The third trait to help you attract emotionally healthy people is you want to begin to notice if you're carrying a lot of unresolved anger. Most of us are carrying anger from our past because anger is really just a sign that our needs weren't met or that our boundaries were violated in some way. It's actually a really natural and healthy emotion. But if we're not aware of when we're feeling angry or how we react to anger, we can unknowingly project our anger onto other people. Now, this means that instead of understanding that anger is our own emotion, we end up blaming those around us or making them responsible for the way that we feel. You've probably met someone with a lot of unresolved anger before. They might get really triggered very easily. You might end up feeling like you're walking on eggshells around them. You might even notice this pattern in yourself. So it's really, really important to understand your anger and to work through your anger, to learn how to do breath work or meditation, how to express your anger in healthier ways. The fourth trait to begin to attract healthier people is you want to actually put yourself out there. Now, for a lot of you, this one might seem obvious, but a lot of us don't actually take the steps to meet new people. We have this expectation that connections or relationships will just happen to us. Or maybe we get on a dating app and then we shut down to the process of it all together. Now, in order to attract emotionally healthy people, we have to expose ourselves to new experiences and situations where we can actually meet new people. We have to actually go on that date, answer that message on a dating app, or maybe even start a new hobby, join a new group. It's often those who we meet that end up connecting us to the person that really just fits into our lives. So if we're isolating ourselves, or if we're only halfway putting ourselves out there, we just won't give ourselves the opportunity to even connect with the people that we're meant to connect with. And this is so important, this next step. We have to practice giving people a chance. We have to be willing not only to meet new people, but to slowly let a relationship develop, even if there aren't fireworks right from the beginning, as many of us are looking for. We really need to give people a chance, give the relationship a chance to develop and to deepen. And sometimes it can actually even be a good sign that the new person in our life isn't our typical type. They're not giving us those anxious butterflies. That might be a sign that that's a healthier relationship for us in the long term. Now, I would love to hear from you listening. Which of these traits do you already see in yourself? And which ones will you commit to working on? Leave it in the comments below.